Tonight on Unlocked Confidential, we unpack the horrifying details of Hong Kong's most shocking murder of 2023, the tragic case of Abby Choi. On February 21, 2023, Abby Choi was scheduled to meet with her ex-husband's family to finalize a property deal, a transaction tied to a luxury apartment she had purchased. It was supposed to be routine. She never returned. When Abby was reported missing later that day, police began a swift investigation. Phone records and surveillance data pointed them toward a rural village house in Tai Po, a district on the northern edge of Hong Kong. Unlike the dense modern neighborhoods of Kowloon and Central, Tai Po is quieter, more remote. The three-story home wasn't just a hideout. It was, as police would learn, a makeshift slaughterhouse. On February 24th, officers entered the residence. What they found defied belief. In the kitchen, 2 human legs were discovered neatly stored inside a refrigerator. Nearby, a large pot on the stove was filled with human tissue, bones, and Abby's skull. Forensic specialists identified a hole in the back of the skull, consistent with blunt force trauma, likely the cause of death. Elsewhere in the home, authorities found tools, meat grinders, chainsaws, cleavers, and hammers, all believed to have been used to dismember the body. Walls and floors were covered in plastic sheeting, a clear sign of premeditation. There were raincoats and gloves, suggesting the suspects had taken steps to avoid leaving forensic evidence. The home had been outfitted for murder, not lived in. Nothing had been left to chance. The dismemberment was not frenzied. It was clinical, calculated, designed to destroy evidence and hinder identification. What police uncovered in Tai Po wasn't a simple act of violence. It was a meticulously orchestrated crime, shocking in its brutality, and even more horrifying when the identities of the suspects began to emerge. The arrests came swiftly. Within days of the discovery in Tai Po, Hong Kong police had taken 7 people into custody, each one with a direct or supporting role in Abby Choi's murder. At the center of it all was Abby's ex-husband, Alex Kwong. Once a figure in Abby's past, he now stood accused of helping to destroy her future. Alongside him was his father, Kwong Kau, a former Hong Kong police officer who had once sworn to uphold the law. Instead, he now stood accused of orchestrating one of the most disturbing crimes the city had ever seen. Next was Anthony Kwong, Abby's former brother-in-law, who allegedly assisted in logistics surrounding the crime, and Jenny Lee, the ex-mother-in-law, believed to have helped cover it up. But the plot didn't end with the nuclear family. Police also arrested a woman believed to be Kwong Kau's mistress, a middle-aged socialite who had allegedly helped him secure the Tai Po village house where the crime occurred. 2 additional individuals, both friends of the Kwong family, were charged with assisting in various ways, including helping suspects flee or conceal evidence. In court, all 7 suspects were denied bail. Prosecutors laid out a case of premeditated murder, an execution planned with precision and carried out with chilling calm. But what could drive a family to such an act? The answer, police said, was as cold as the crime scene itself: money. To outsiders, Abby Choi had it all: beauty, success, and financial independence. But behind the scenes, there was a web of financial tension involving her ex-husband's family. Abby had purchased a luxury property in Kadoorie Hill, one of Hong Kong's most prestigious neighborhoods. But to navigate tax rules, she had placed the deed in the name of her ex-father-in-law, Kwong Kau, a move made out of trust, not strategy. The arrangement was supposed to be temporary, but when Abby later decided to sell the property or reclaim ownership, everything changed. Investigators believe that Kwong Kau viewed the sale as a personal and financial threat. The apartment represented tens of millions of Hong Kong dollars, a fortune, and if Abby sold it, his family would lose their grip on the wealth they'd come to rely on. Rather than negotiate, police allege that he began planning her murder. The rental of the Tai Po house, the gathering of tools, the timing, even the raincoats and plastic lining. Everything pointed to a calculated attempt not just to kill Abby, but to erase her. The motive wasn't passion, it wasn't rage, it was control and greed. While the dismembered remains of Abby Choi were found at the Tai Po rental home, investigators quickly determined that the murder itself likely occurred elsewhere. There was no evidence of a violent struggle inside the home, no blood spatter consistent with a fatal blow, no signs of chaos. Instead, what they found was a scene meticulously prepared for post-mortem mutilation. The interior of the house had been transformed. Plastic sheeting lined the walls and floors, creating a sterile environment designed to contain blood and biological material. Protective gear, including disposable raincoats, gloves, and shoe covers, had been neatly laid out, suggesting not only preparation, but an effort to avoid leaving behind DNA or forensic evidence. The tools discovered weren't random household items. They were instruments of butchery: chainsaws, meat grinders, large cleavers, and hammers, all of them capable of breaking bone and reducing a body to unidentifiable fragments. Investigators believe Abby's remains were methodically dismembered inside that house. Portions were found inside a refrigerator. Others were cooked, reportedly boiled in large pots, possibly to destroy tissue and complicate identification. The refrigerator had been deliberately cleared of its contents to make room for body parts. Even the shelving had been removed to maximize space. One of the most disturbing discoveries was Abby's skull, found inside a soup pot bearing a hole in the rear consistent with blunt force trauma, believed to be the fatal blow. Despite the precision of the scene, not all of Abby's remains were found. Her torso and hands are still missing, and police believe they were discarded separately, possibly in landfills or remote locations to prevent full recovery. For investigators, this wasn't just a gruesome killing. It was a cold, calculated disposal plan, carried out by individuals who had thought through the logistics down to the final step. And chillingly, that plan might have succeeded, if not for one critical mistake. Abby wasn't just a social media figure. She was a mother of four, a fashion influencer, and a rising public figure in Hong Kong's elite circles. She had appeared in luxury fashion magazines and attended global events. Friends described her as warm, generous, and quietly ambitious. In the days following the murder, neighbors in Tai Po held Taoist ceremonies at the crime scene. Vigils were held across Hong Kong. The city was in disbelief, not just at the cruelty of the crime, but at the identity of the accused, her own ex-husband and his family. As the case moved from investigation to prosecution, Hong Kong's justice system began preparing for what would be one of its most closely watched criminal trials in years. All four core suspects, Abby's ex-husband Alex Kwong, his father Kwong Kau, mother Jenny Lee, and brother Anthony Kwong, were formally charged with murder or perverting the course of justice. Prosecutors allege that each played a direct role in the planning, execution, or concealment of Abby's killing. These charges carry some of the harshest penalties under Hong Kong law, including life imprisonment. The three additional suspects, two friends of the Kwong family and Kwong Kau's alleged mistress, faced secondary charges, including harboring fugitives, assisting escape, and destroying or concealing evidence. Their alleged involvement included helping secure the Tai Po property, hiding suspects, and attempting to obstruct the investigation. As of now, none of the suspects have been granted bail. All remain in custody, and the trial is expected to extend well into 2025, as prosecutors build a complex case involving digital evidence, forensic reconstruction, and witness testimony. It's likely to dominate headlines and legal commentary for months to come. In parallel with the criminal proceedings, a separate civil litigation battle is underway over Abby Choi's properties. The focal point is the luxury apartment in Kadoorie Hill, registered under her ex-father-in-law's name. Her surviving family is pursuing legal action to reclaim ownership and prevent further misuse of her estate. The property, valued at teens of millions of Hong Kong dollars, is now both a crime scene and a symbol of the greed that may have led to her death. Meanwhile, police continue their efforts to locate Abby's missing remains. Despite days of landfill sweeps and rural searches, her torso and hands remain unrecovered, a painful reminder that this case is still incomplete, both emotionally and forensically. Now understand this: Hong Kong is one of the safest major cities in the world, with low rates of violent crime and even fewer cases involving murder. Dismemberment cases are almost unheard of. So when news broke of Abby Choi's death, it wasn't just the brutality that captured attention, it was the betrayal. The suspects weren't strangers. They weren't career criminals or outsiders. They were the very people who had once shared Abby's home, her trust, and her life. Her ex-husband, her former in-laws, people who had sat at the same table, celebrated holidays together, and helped raise her children. That betrayal hit hard. For many in Hong Kong, the case became a mirror, reflecting uncomfortable truths about family, financial dependency, and control. It stirred public debate about the nature of inheritance, the dangers of informal property arrangements, and the vulnerability of women, even those with fame and fortune. The Abby Choi case has been compared to some of Hong Kong's most notorious crimes, like the Hello Kitty murder and the 2008 Head in the Freezer case, but this one feels different, not just because of its cruelty, but because of how carefully it was hidden and who was involved. It reminded the public of a terrifying reality. Sometimes the most dangerous threats aren't the ones lurking in the shadows, they're the ones inside your own home. As of now, trials are ongoing for all suspects. Police are still seeking the final missing body parts. Forensic work continues to strengthen the case. Property claims remain contested in civil court. And for Abby's children, now orphaned by one of Hong Kong's most horrifying murders, legal guardianship has shifted to surviving relatives outside of the accused family. The murder of Abby Choi wasn't just a crime, it was a warning. A story about trust, control, and how money can twist relationships into something deadly. She was a young woman with a future, a mother, a public figure, and now a symbol of justice delayed but not forgotten. If you found this story important, share it. Talk about it. Let it be known, because silence, like this crime, protects the wrong people. This is Unlocked Confidential. Subscribe, like, and stay tuned for more true stories that demand answers.